And we are live. I went to a wedding last week, and I think that's why we didn't have VM Live last week, because I was at the wedding. It was on Friday, April 1st. They were getting married, and that's celebrated here. So we were kind of confused about whether that was just because that was a good date for them, or if it was, trying to say some sort of a statement about, marriage being a joke. But we went to this. You should have seen all of my partner's kids. They're all dressed up in their little suits and dresses and stuff. It was awesome.
They looked cute.
And we went to this place called 11 for the reception. It was just a dinner, and we were all outside, and it was this maybe 11-course meal. I don't know. But we had no idea what the menu was, and the bride and groom they'd never been there, so they were literally eating it blind, just like us.
No, that's bold.
Just like I think still in the States, all the employees and stuff had to wear masks, and so they would come out and tell us what was on the menu. But it was some, it's not just like this is a salad. It's some crazy words and stuff like that. But then they also had the masks on, so you couldn't understand anything that they were saying. And so they would give you this thing, and you'd be like, I don't know.
I think there was an accent in there. I'll have two.
Yeah, sure. And we had no idea. They just kept coming. Like the stuff just kept coming consistently. So we had no idea when the meal was over. We had 2 desserts. There was like a salad that had salmon and some other kind of fish that I don't know, and apples and all sorts. It was just, you had no idea what you were eating until you I tasted it.
That'd be kind of exciting.
It was awesome. It was really cool because, and then like the regular meat dish was like some sort of, I don't know, roast beef thing, but it was displayed really cool, But yeah, we were popping back and forth between the two. There were 2 tables of us. There were only like maybe 12 of us there. So we were popping back and forth between the 2 tables and walking around and talking. And then the Adelaide, they had the AFL here, which is the Australian Football League. And if you ever get the chance to watch Australian football, it is crazy. It's like a weird hybrid mix between like soccer and rugby. It seems like there aren't any rules. People jump on each other's backs. Like it's bananas. But the Adelaide Crows and Port Adelaide, whatever they are, were playing each other like a couple miles down the road. So this would be like if, the Cubs and the White Sox were playing each other, at the same time. And so it was just mayhem. And we were watching the game at this like fine dining restaurant. We were watching the game on the cell phone. It was hilarious. Anyway, hey, welcome to VM Live. My name is Jack Rollins. I am your host, and with me, as always, man, myth, legend, traveler, good friend, half-decent poker player, and plant enthusiast, Mr. Jeffrey Hoffman.
Hello, guys. That was a big sigh, but
yeah, I kind of want to ask about that.
Yeah, I don't even know where that came from.
And we also
that was a lot of labels.
Yeah, well, I'm going to keep going. I have my notes here. Eventually, I want the first segment to just be your introduction.
Just be okay.
And then we have, I think he's been popping in and out, but I think we have admin Bob here. You there, Bob?
Hello, can you hear me? I'm here, I think.
Bob is here. So if you're watching the live stream, Bob may not be on video, but his audio's there. And then when we put this up on YouTube and all that, the video should be there as well. So yeah, how's your guys' week been?
My week has been, I'm tired. It's been good. Like there's, I've been planning a lot of stuff for VM, and so there's been a lot of things have fallen into place in the last few days that we'll be announcing shortly. One of them being a fundraiser that we're lining up. A lot of good guests that we've got coming up. So that feels really good. I've been tired. I think that's where the sigh came from. I went out last night for a drink, and you would have thought that I was up till 4 a.m. the way that my body reacted.
Yeah, and I think you came home at like 8:30 at night, because I think that's when you messaged me, and I'm like, "Do you want to catch up?" And you're like, "No, man."
I was like, "No, I'm tired, man. It's like after 9. What are you talking about?" Yeah, but generally, I'm pretty good.
I've been pretty good. Things here have been awesome, so that's been awesome. But then on the other end of it, just recently, I had someone who I thought was a friend, not super close, but somebody. I'll be fairly open about it. He was associated with the server, and had opened up to him a lot. Had tried to be a safe person for him, and tried to go the extra mile. Just up and kind of blocked me everywhere, or unfriended me everywhere, unfollowed me. And it affected me a lot more than I thought it would. And I think it's not so much, people stop being friends all the time. Like, that's just a nature of, the nature of the beast. But to be ghosted like that, with no explanation, no, goodbye, no nothing. Had I not specifically been curious and looked, like, I wouldn't have known, and that just like brought some stuff up, and yeah, I don't know. It happened, I think, last week. And I just find myself like falling back into thinking about it probably way more than I should. Cause I don't know. It feels messed up. That it's just this person that was in my life, is just gone now, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it. I sent him a message, but I don't know if he can read it, if he did read it, I don't know how far I'm supposed to pursue that kind of stuff before it gets like, dude, leave me alone. I ghosted you for a reason, and the thing that ticks me off about it, because I'm sad and a little depressed about it, but the thing that ticks me off is that if it was based on something I said or did or how I acted, I'll never know. So I can't like improve myself. I can't learn from the experience, because it's like you getting fired but have no idea why. They just say leave. Like, you show up to work one day and they're like, sorry, you don't work here anymore. And you're like, why? And they're like, just leave, So it just feels unfinished,
Yeah, that not being resolved is really uncomfortable. It's I know that I've removed myself from people's. I don't think I've ever ghosted anybody though, because it's easier to just kind of close up shop and run away. It's harder to be like, listen, I gotta go because of this X, Y, and Z. And it's I'm sure it was like a self-protective measure for that person, but it was fairly selfish to not have any communication, to be blocked and just run away. Because you're right. When we talk about stuff here, we put our money where our mouth is, and we really open up with each other, and we become friends and share a lot of vulnerable things openly. And when somebody does that, it's hard to not be hurt by that a lot.
Yeah. It's tough. It's weird, because things like that, we talk a lot about safety and being a safe person, but things like that make me not with the server, but those are the kind of situations that make you feel like unsafe. You know what I mean?
That brings up, I didn't really think about this until you said that, but if I called you a name or something derogatory or made fun of you, that clearly you would not feel safe opening up to me. But if I just blocked you and disappeared, that's like it's not an active thing to call you a name, but that would make it equally unsafe, if not more.
Because you're left wondering, and I think we as men have to, we have a hard enough time opening up and talking and doing those things, to then have those little setbacks. I don't know how they affect women. I'm sure it hurts everyone, but like, it just feels like obviously I'm a grown man, so I'm not going back to square one, but it does feel kind of like a setback, you know what I mean? Of now meeting new people, how open am I going to be? How much am I going to let them in? If they at any moment, it's just a reminder that anybody at any moment can just, turn around on you, and, it's not about you. And we know that logically, I don't think I did anything wrong. And if I did, I want to know about it and learn, but I don't think I did anything. So I know it's not about me specifically, it's on the other person. It's more or less, it sounds bad, but more or less their problem, but that doesn't mean, that unlogical emotional side of you, is still there, and he creeps up and, makes things a little bit rough. But you had mentioned, I'm trying to think if I ever like truly ghosted someone. I'm sure I have, like back in the day. I wouldn't do that now, but I'm definitely sure high school, college, it's so much easier now than it used to be. You used to have to, like remove them from a social set. Like it was difficult, but now, you can literally, remove someone. That's one of the first things you do, like separations, divorces, for a lot of people, is that moment where you, remove them
block,
from everything. And then, try to go into your Google Calendar and repeatedly delete events and those kind of things. It's like a systematic, just like deleting pictures off your desktop, and that it's convenient in certain situations like that, but it feels, it's such a like final move, you know what I mean? Like it's just it's calculated and it's swift, and I'm sure there are services and stuff out there that can make that go faster and even make it more simple. Were you going to say something, Bob?
I was to say, I can kind of relate to this situation. Obviously, I had friends that ghosted me, but I use the term ghosting in the sense like it wasn't like we were friends on social media and they just blocked me or disappeared. We were friends in real life, and then they just stopped talking to me, stopped inviting me to go camping and stuff with them. You guys know the story. So those were good friends. So that hit me hard. And especially because it took me a while to realize, because the year over which it happened partly encompassed a year in which my daughter had surgery. I lost my job, got a new job, and then we went into COVID. So it took me almost a year before I kind of fully realized what was even going on. But I understand what you're saying, because the same individual in the server had unfriended me as well. But because of what happened to me with my other friends, this kind of hit me a little bit differently, in the sense that, like, okay, I thought we were friends, but there was no real emotional connection yet. So if this is the road you've chosen to take, fine. Again, same as you, I don't feel I did anything. I would like to know if I did. Say all the same things you said. So if I did something wrong, I want to improve. I want to be a better person. But they chose to leave, not tell me anything. Okay, fine. That's on you. Bye. See you later.
Yeah. It seems like you've gotten, you're better able to, I guess, let go than I am when it comes to that. And that may be because of the experience that you've been through, which was really terrible. I remember you talking about it. But yeah, it seems like you're able to better kind of shut the door on that than I've been. The logical side of me is in total agreement with you. It's not my problem. I if I did something wrong and I'm not told about it, well, how much, if I don't know, I don't know. But but I don't think I did. I don't think you did. There was not any sort of fight or blow up or anything like that. So it's just kind of a there one day, gone the next. So the logical side of me knows that, but yeah, the emotional side of me is just like, I trusted you, dude. Like I welcomed you into my inner workings, and it's one thing on VM Live. We do try to have open and honest discussions, and I think we've gone into some pretty deep or dark places, all of us on here, but it is different than having just a dialogue on the server. You can be a little bit more comfortable. You're usually typing stuff up. That it's kind of an enclosed environment. Whereas right now, if everything's working the way it should be, we're streaming on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch, and then on the server. So there's this kind of public, and so whether we want to or not, there's gonna be a little bit of a filter, because you don't want to sit there and rip on someone, and they're like, oh yeah, they could be watching right now. But yeah, but I gotta commend you, Bob, because I'm not there emotionally yet. I lack that capacity right now to not be freaking out about it.
So the flip side, I guess, of being able to more quickly get through somebody ghosting you is if you're able to heal faster. I guess this is more of a question for you, Bob. Is it harder to open up then? Because you can be really good at closing up and moving on, but it seems like it would be just as hard to open up then.
Well, I would have two quick responses. One, in response to what Jack was saying, is part of this with this particular incident we were discussing, I think for me, plays off of my experiences in like Tinder and the dating apps, where because there was no in-person interaction, there was no in-person connection. So it was all via the server, via Instagram. And so with my experiences on Tinder and other dating apps of being ghosted, where no.
Okay.
So with those experiences from Tinder and the dating apps, I look at it as, okay, I had no strong emotional connection to you because we didn't meet. We didn't, yes, we shared, stories on the server. We shared, we shared, like I don't say intimate, but not like in a, dirty way, intimate stuff on Instagram, pictures of my daughter, pictures of my pets. And so we shared stuff, but again, for me anyway, I was still lacking that connection. So yes, it's easier to kind of let go because I've had that experience of letting go through social media, ghosting. Going to my friends, that was harder. That still gnaws at me. You guys know we've talked about it. That still gnaws at me, and it's been almost 3 years now, and that still gnaws at my gut that they didn't have the balls to come and say anything to me. I forgot what the other part of your question was.
Well, we can get to that here.
If it was harder to open up after that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, in retrospect, when I look at what happened with my friends, have been more careful with people that I meet as far as, opening up and kind of really, truly letting them in. That now I think, I could say more challenging, but also maybe I'm being more guarded a little bit with that. So, yeah.
Okay.
So something that just crossed my mind is somebody accused me of ghosting them, and I was feeling withdrawn after it. Is it, I know this is a whole topic in and of itself, but is it ever appropriate or considerate to go back after a long time and go, hey, listen, I'm sorry about how I handled that situation, and kind of patch up the ghostiness of it.
Well, why don't we think about that real quick, and we can answer that question right after the break. And we're back. I started walking every morning with my lady, and it's been awesome. Like, she walks really fast, and so it's actually been kind of terrible in a lot of ways, but I need that, you know, like, and, you know, I've been way over my step goal every day, you know, and it's helped me, you know, it energizes you, and you realize, oh, I've only had 1 cup of coffee this morning versus like 16. But this morning it was we had the window open, because the dog was like farting like crazy last night, so we needed fresh air coming in. And it was nice and cool this morning, and it was just cuddled up, and I'm like, yeah, no walking. This is better. I'll make up for it later. So slept in a little bit. It just, that kind of reminded me seeing you with your wine, Jeff, and Bob with his beer. I'm over here like, yeah, I can tell my energy is lower for the morning shows versus when I was in the same time zone. Because it's still 10 in the morning.
I can hear it in your voice. Because it used to be the opposite for me, where we would talk at night, and I'd be like, it's like 8 o'clock. I'm so tired.
Another thing, this house is, it's a cute little house, but it's very, very, there's a lot of reverb. And so, like, I'm trying not to talk too loud because it'll just all come back into the microphone, and that just, I don't want to have to deal with that in post-production. Anyway, before we went to break, Jeff, you started to ask a question. Could you go ahead and re-ask it?
Yeah. So is it ever appropriate to go back and apologize and kind of mend up how you ended a relationship? And especially if it's ghosting. And I guess 2 perspectives. One is I went out for drinks last night, and the person said that she was over the person that she was talking to, and then he came back and he apologized. And she spent the night sobbing, you know, whenever that happened. Because it was just so upsetting to have to unravel those wounds that happened. But in this case, you know, the other perspective is what you guys are sharing, that years can go on and you can still relive that relationship in your head for a long time. And would you feel comfort if that person reached out and said, hey, listen, this is what happened, and I apologize? With it, like, I don't know which is better, because on one hand, somebody has a wound that's open, on another hand, it's closure.
I think if the wound is that easy to open, maybe it was never like healed to begin with. I'm on the side of, I mean, it could be, you know, a letter. It may not be a conversation, you know, it could just be this is, you know, something like that. You know, I think I don't think there's a limit on when, you know, a statute of limitations on that. I think, I think you can, if it was, you know, I'm not going to write to my, you know, childhood, you know, preschool friend who I ghosted, you know, like, but I think there's always room for clearing the air, and clearing your conscience, you know. I don't know. I'd like to know why. I'd like to have that conversation, and maybe a painful conversation, you know, for everyone involved. But at least then there's closure and there's room for growth versus what I think is kind of and pardon my French, but the kind of the chicken shit move of just bouncing, you know, like that's not safe. That's not growth. Nobody learns. Nobody, you know, I think that's kind of I would almost say cowardly way to do things, you know, and coming back and owning that, you know, and then telling me what I did wrong. You know, it's not just their growth, it's my growth too. If I did something wrong, or if I offended, or, you know, went in a direction I shouldn't have gone, or whatever, you know, at least we can have that dialogue, you know.
When I've talked to my therapist about this in reference to a breakup that I went through, and I was equivocating kind of the way I am now, kind of like, do I do this? Do I not? And she's like, well, what do you need? I was like, well, this might affect her this way. And she's like, I'm not asking what she needs. What do you need right now? So I guess from that perspective, if it helps you, and maybe do it.
Yeah. Okay, so the topic for today's discussion is the audience Q&A. A while ago, it was suggested on more than one kind of occasion that we do Q&As, and I don't know why, because we're not professionals. And so like there's this element, and this is us stating that, there's this element to where, take everything we say with a massive grain of salt, because we don't know what we're talking about. That's reserved for when Jeff speaks to the professionals during the live talks. None of us are professionals, especially when it comes to mental health or anything like that. So, but we've had people submitting questions via Discord. We've had people submitting questions via Instagram as well. And so we have a couple of really good, fairly, I think, deep questions. And I'm really happy because the last time we did this, it was all, there were a lot of penis questions. And so, I don't think there are any, yeah.
Really?
I don't think that.
In a men's server, people asking about it.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't. Yeah. It was, those are from Instagram, from women asking us questions about, like scratching your balls, shaving your balls, like those kind of things. It was just consistent, like balls questions. And so,
a whole episode on that.
So no testicular questions so far. There's still time because we do have people listening live, on the server. And they could ask, and I was just going to get nothing but just silly penis questions. But anyway, so we have some good ones. I'm going to go ahead and just start. The first question we have that's been submitted is, has anyone made fun of you for talking about your feelings? Jeff?
Yeah. What first comes to mind is somebody said, "You're too sensitive." When she said something to me, I don't remember. I don't remember the circumstances. But yeah, she said, "You're too sensitive," when I got offended.
Okay. What about you, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, in the past, my ex similar to Jeff, make fun of me for things I would say like, "Oh, you're too sensitive. It was a joke." Blah blah blah. Say recently, no, but yeah, it's happened definitely.
Yeah, I think it's different as an adult. I mean, yeah, there's that whole "you're being too sensitive" kind of deal that can pop up. I don't know if recently, though, I've been made fun of for being open and talking about my feelings, but I have been invalidated. I have been, kind of shunned from doing that. I've noticed, I think we as a culture talk a lot about, yes, men should be open with their feelings. I mean, you go on Instagram and you search some of these hashtags, that stuff pops up, and it's all great talk, but then when somebody does it and it's inconvenient or not pleasant or whatever, it's not a good feeling. It's like, oh no, not quite ready for that yet, and I've run into a lot of that, where something will be bothering me, or, I'll need to get something off my chest, and then I'll get flack for that, and I've had to then remind those people, like, look, I'm entitled to my feelings, that I'm trying to be open. That's what we're supposed to be doing, maybe not immediately shut down or put it on you, or, like those kind of things. Like I sit there and listen to you. It's only fair that, and sometimes stuff is going to come out unpleasantly. And I think in my experience, because I was never really taught how to do that, it probably comes out worse than somebody who's more practiced. Because I'm not good at it, and so if I'm at the point where, if it's something negative, I mean, positive feelings, that's easy. But like if it's something negative, usually for me, it builds up until the point where I feel like I have to tell you. And then when I'm at that point, you know, it's obviously festered for a while. And then when you add that into my not being great at opening up to begin with, it probably comes out a little more harsh than it needs to. It probably doesn't make as much logical sense as it needs to, or as it could, you know, like it tends to be a little bit more of like a just a flurry of like just words, which probably doesn't help. So I think it's kind of a weird catch-22, you know?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking my first example was that somebody said I'm too sensitive, but if I were to, I'm a data person. So if I were to list all the times that I shared my feelings and the number of times that somebody made fun of me, I don't think it's very often. The times that it happens, I can remember distinctly, but I, you know, to give people credit, I think that's one of the things that I realized when, I don't know, I think when I started going through my divorce, that I was like, people don't actually do that as often as we think they do, but it just hurts so much when they do that, you know, we recoil.
And I think it's because it's the people that like are the closest to us are the ones, you know, that's why we remember. I don't care if Joe Schmo makes fun of I don't care. You know, I don't know you, or you're not, you know, you're not important to me. It's when the people that are, we remember that because it's the people that like matter the most to us, you know, and it's such a kind of a shock. But yeah, I don't think people make fun of, I think there's more invalidation than outward, you know, you're being a pansy or whatever, you know. And I was lucky growing up that my parents never, you know, I didn't have to deal with any of that with like my parents. I don't, at least as far as I know, I wasn't really invalidated, you know, for what I felt. So, okay, next question. How do you internally cope with people who you've opened up to about being depressed or suicidal, who have told you that it's unfair for you to feel the way you feel because you have a lifestyle most people would dream of? That's a pretty long question. I think the basis of it is, how do you cope when people are invalidating your feelings of depression or suicide because you're you know, well off, you know, or you know, you're a cis, you know, white male who can put food on the table, pay rent, that kind of stuff. And I think that's a good kind of thing from our last question. You know, it's really just about being invalidated when it comes to something incredibly serious like mental health. For me, the obvious, quick, easy answer: ghost them. No, would be, yep,
Click.
No problems. Come back and apologize in a couple of years. It's okay.
Yeah.
But you know, removing and you know, when it comes to your safety, you know, having those people you know, farther away from you, you know, emotionally speaking, is probably the way to go. My answer to all of this stuff is probably going to be therapy, to be honest. You know, because you can't, like, depression and you know, the extension of that, suicidal thoughts. I mean, that's heavy stuff, you know, and it's has nothing to do with what you do for a living or how you look or your status in the world. You know, it's completely, that stuff's completely irrelevant when it comes to, you know, your mental health. That to me seems as silly as somebody invalidating you, you know, for having a broken leg and complaining about it because you're wealthy. You know, like, mental health is physical health. So that's a portion of it. And if somebody can't see that separation, or that combination, that's the same thing, then, you know, that's on them. What do you think, Jeff?
I think when I feel a certain way, it's relative to how I felt before or what I'm used to, not what somebody else is used to. So if I feel sad today, I don't wake up and think, yeah, but so-and-so in Ukraine has it horrendously worse than I do. They do in that situation, but I don't, and I'm not used to that. So my day yesterday was different, and I felt better yesterday than I did today. So It's invalidating. It's sort of like not finishing your meal and somebody saying, but there's starving children in Africa that don't have that, which is a whole different topic in itself. But I think it's invalidating to have somebody say, but you have it so good. And, I think there's some merit to being grateful for what you do have. I mean, we try to express our gratitudes in the server every day. And sometimes I come up with some things that I guess I hope I wouldn't think about, like I have all my limbs. That's pretty awesome. I haven't injured my fingers on a table saw that I'm standing next to right now. Like I have clean water. I can just turn on the tap. I can drink it. That's pretty awesome. But I'm used to it. And as entitled as that seems, I'm used to it. So if I wake up and my tap water is shit, I mean, that would ruin my day. Some people are used to that, but I'm not used to that. So I think it's invalidating if somebody says that, but it doesn't mean that what I'm going through is any worse.
What about you, Bob?
Well, I guess I would say I can't really give like an answer to that question because, I mean, have I been suicidal? Yes. Have I been depressed? Yes. But I've never shared that with anyone like in those moments. So like I haven't been in a situation where I can relate and kind of answer that question. All my response would be similar to kind of what Jeff was saying, which would be relating it to other things similar and kind of guessing as to how it would feel. So, to honestly answer that question, I don't know because I internalized everything in those moments and didn't share, maybe for fear of someone doing that and being like, hey, you're a young white guy. What do you have to be, worried about and wanting to kill yourself over? So yeah, I didn't share maybe because of those fears. It was probably how I would answer that. But I can't answer it because I don't have that experience of anybody doing that to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I can respond to that real quick, I forgot that all three of us are sitting here being white guys talking about this, and the privilege that we have in situations is not something that I think about because the alternative hasn't happened to me. So that's probably a good example. That as you were talking, Bob, for some reason that crossed my mind, and I was like, oh, wow, I don't worry about X, Y, and Z because I'm a white guy. So I don't know. It's probably a good example.
No, I totally agree. We are fortunate in a lot of ways. And there's really no arguing that. But at the end of the day, it's a mental health thing, and mental health issues affect everyone. And it's not, it's internal. It's not, what's going on outside. I did read a statistic somewhere, and I'm going to try to find it because I hate to be that guy that's like, oh, here's a fact, and then not having a source to it.
Research has proven
via Reddit that, but no, I read something somewhere that said that most men, or maybe it was on the one podcast that we had recently, the Live Talks, most men do actually reach out to someone first. They're just ignored when it comes to people who have attempted suicide. Most of the time that they do actually reach out to someone, and they're ignored. I think it was on
I can answer
one
to
of the
this
live
one.
talks we just did recently.
See, I can relate and respond to that one because I was the ignorer. This is one of the things that has motivated me with being an advocate for suicide prevention because many years ago, I was probably, I was young, so because I'm young and stupid. And I was sitting in a lounge. There was a TV, I had headphones on, and a guy I knew came and sat next to me. And he was clearly trying to share something. And I just kind of tuned him out and was very casual, like, and then not like 2 hours later, hear that he tried to commit suicide. And I was like, oh my God, he was trying to talk to me. and I fucking blew the guy off because we were both kind of like introverts and didn't talk to a lot of people. So we had established a bond and a friendship. But in that moment, when he came to talk to me, I was in my extremely introverted, like, no, I don't want to, don't want to. And so, yeah, I felt really terrible after that. And that has been one of my motivations since then of like, yeah, you need to talk. I'm here. Come talk, come sit down. We'll talk. I will listen. I'm never going to do that again.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Bob. We're going to go to break and we'll be right back. Just a couple of quick announcements. On Wednesday, April 13th at 7 p.m.
No, there was a cat.
I'm going to try that again. On Wednesday, April 13th at 7 p.m., VM will hold a live talk called Toxic Relationship Cycles. Where do they come from and how do we heal from them? That will be free and open to the public. The LGBTQIA plus section will hold its monthly chat on Tuesday, April 12th at 7 p.m. VM holds weekly voice chat hangouts on Mondays at 7 p.m. It's a great way for men to connect on something other than via text. The gamer section holds weekly hangouts on Fridays at 9 p.m. Come hang out, play video games, stream, and or talk about video games with your fellow VM gamers. Of course, there's VM Live, which is on Thursdays at 8 p.m. All are invited to join the server and take part in the show. All times are Eastern, and all events take place on the Visible Man Discord server. The link for that will be in the show notes. Okay, so I think we're ready for our next question. Do you talk about mental health / have you talked about mental health, or have you had mental health discussions outside of the server? I think this is interesting. I raised this question to my partner because she was asking, what are some of the questions? And this was one of the ones I remembered because it's one thing for us to sit here and have this little enclosed, safe area to talk about mental health, but I'm curious how many of us are open and honest and vulnerable and all those kind of things on the server, which is fantastic, but then like in the real world or in the outside world, like just shut it down. So it's like you have this one space and then everything else is, outside of the mental health bubble. We've said this before. I personally, I don't think, we're in this bubble. And so we have this kind of idea that people are talking about this stuff all the time. And that it's at the forefront of everyone's minds because it's at the forefront of our minds. But I don't think it is, and I don't think people in the real world or whatever, I don't think they talk about this stuff. One of the blessings of being a part of the VM organization for me is that it's helped me take that stuff offline. I had started the journey with the Instagram account and all that kind of stuff. So I was already kind of doing some of that, but I would have these big open thoughts and discussions with people on Instagram and then like not have any of those discussions in the real world. So it was like there were like two different people almost. And joining the server and talking to people and seeing them and actually having, vocal kind of conversations, I think has helped me then carry this stuff into, everyday conversation. At the very least, it's helped me understand a little bit about where people are coming from and what the issue might be and, having good conversations with people. But yeah, I feel like it's helped me be more open, to the outside world. What about you, Jeff, who, by the way, started VM, just as a reminder? So,
I think having the friendships here gives me a practice place because before this, I didn't have a lot of guy friends. After the divorce, I pretty much lost all my friends, or I thought were friends. But now, I think, having a place to talk about it gives me practice. I think I'm, it sounds bad to say this, but I think like a calculated vulnerability, where calculated sounds like it's, I don't know, whatever, but I don't just open up everything to everybody all the time anywhere. I do think about it. I'm like, this isn't really a person that I trust with this. I think I do feel a little more emboldened to bring up how I'm feeling or asking somebody how they're really doing in a setting that might not be typical. Because I feel a little bit more like, what's the worst that's going to happen? They just say, I don't want to talk about it. Or the best thing that would happen is that they're kind of caught off guard. Like, wow, you noticed that? Like, wow. Okay. And it's a way to connect with people. So I think I'm much more inclined to do that now. So yeah, I do it out of the server for sure.
See, I like that calculated vulnerability. That sounds like an indie rock band's album. I think that's just smart. I mean, there's a difference between being open and honest and also then just like wearing your crap on your sleeve. Like, you're sitting there at the dude at McDonald's, ordering your food and they ask you how you're doing. They don't, now's not the time. Yeah. Like now's not the time,
Yeah. Well, it's funny you bring that up because one of the most poignant things that I remember when I was in a really bad place was I went through the drive-through and literally at McDonald's and also at Panera. I was like literally crying. My eyes were red or whatever. And the person at the takeout window was like, "You're having a really bad day, aren't you?" And I still remember it. I wrote to the corporate office to say this person with their name they were so observant, and that made a big difference. So it can, at the right time, it's not so bad.
Meanwhile, the people at Starbucks just told you to go fuck yourself.
Everybody else didn't even notice. Or they noticed, they didn't say anything.
What about you, Bob? Do you talk about mental health outside of VM?
Yeah, definitely. VM, I think, has helped me to be more open and talk more about mental health. I talk with my nieces about it, talk to my daughter about it, and have at least a couple friends that I talk with about it. And by it, I mean, like, not just the Visible Man server and, hey, we're here to support men's mental health, but talk about mental health issues. There are some situations in my family. So like my nieces and I, we will talk about that. And same with my daughter, we will talk about that, whether it's in relation to anxiety that she's feeling, anxiety that I'm feeling. So we talk about our mental health. So it's definitely being a part of this has helped me to be able to be more open to having those discussions with people. And I'd like to be able to do that more. I think, we don't talk about it enough. So, but yeah, it's been good to be able to have those discussions with people, not have uncomfortable feelings about talking about it.
Yeah, I agree. Real quick, there's a question here that just says that, do your family and friends know that you're part of a mental health server? I can answer for all of us. Yes. Some do, some don't, it is what it is.
Yes.
I think it's on our LinkedIn profiles. So, we definitely don't hide it. And not that there's anything wrong with having it be your kind of special little place, but we're kind of the guys going out and talking about it. So, it's out there,
Yeah.
Okay, here's an interesting question. What do you guys do to make yourself feel sexy or attractive? Personally, I just look in the mirror. I don't know if I ever feel sexy or attractive. And this goes into last week's or 2 weeks ago, the episode about body positivity. Like, I have issues with that. There are days where I'm like, hey, my hair looks pretty dope. But like feeling sexy or feeling attractive, like I don't know if I've felt either of those things in a decade, so I I don't really do. I mean, I try to take care of myself, and look the best for what, for what I got right now. But I don't think I do anything. I don't have like a routine or, like Patrick Bateman in the beginning of American Psycho. Like I don't have anything like that, kind of thing, to make me feel sexy. What about you guys?
I would say on a day-to-day basis for me, not something I think of. And I haven't been on a date in a long time, but I would say that would be the time that I might think about, okay, how do I look? Obviously I'm going out on a date. I want to look nice. I want to look attractive. I don't necessarily think to myself, I want to look sexy, but yeah, I mean, that would be the time that I'd be thinking more about how I look on a day-to-day basis. I don't consciously think about that, but yeah, I do things like I work out, try to eat healthy, but those are things, like I said, I do without thinking about them in terms of, I'm doing this to look sexy. I'm just doing that to be healthy and fit.
What about you, Jeff?
Similar to Bob, I'll go to the gym. I'll do weights more. To try to feel more attractive because running helps me sleep better. I just feel more relaxed. But if I add a little bit of muscle tone, or I just feel like, okay, it helps me stand a little taller. And when I get dressed up, it's so funny to hear me say this because I never really liked dressing up before, but I can feel when I put myself when I make myself a little uncomfortable and get dressed up and go out, I feel more attractive. I just feel more confident.
Yeah. I think dressing up is like one of the best things you can do. Nobody looks bad in a well-tailored suit, like nobody. It's impossible. Like it's flattering to everyone. And that's one thing that, as far as my partner has really kind of drilled in, because when you feel crappy, about how you look, like it tends to be displayed on how you dress and stuff.
You can see it. You can see it. Yeah.
And, she's big into fashion and that kind of stuff. So she's just get stuff that fits and you will feel so much better. Like, yes, you need to lose weight. Yes, there's this, there's that, but like, don't dress for how you're supposed to be, 50 pounds from now. Like, dress for who you are now and wear clothes that fit. And there are a couple of guys, I think there's a guy on Instagram, it's 300 pounds and running, I think is his, I'll tag him in the notes. He's a bigger dude, and he has just the coolest freaking sense of style, and he dresses for how he looks, and it's very body positive, but yeah, you'd see that dude walking down the street. You wouldn't go, oh, look at that, fat slob. You're like, that's a dope shirt. Like that dude looks cool, So I think that's helped me a little bit, because I still see things I don't want to see. But yeah, I think you're right that dressing up and dressing well can do wonders for you. It just kind of, and with the lifting, I think there's an element of the testosterone kind of, you get that pump. And that's one of the coolest, you reach for it every time you work out, and it doesn't happen every time, but when it happens, you feel, like I don't know if it's sexy, but it's something.
It affects how I feel about myself.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, we are coming up to the end of the show. Jeff, we have our talk coming up on the 13th. Now, just to be sure for that, anybody can tune in on that talk. They just have to join the Discord server, right? Okay.
Yep. We'll do it live talk, and you can answer questions live. She'll be talking about toxic relationships and healing.
And who will the speaker be again?
Jamie Mahler, who's a therapist here in Rochester.
Cool. And the title for that will be Toxic Relationship Cycles. Where do they come from and how do we heal from them? And the reason I asked you what her name was is because I forgot to ask you how to pronounce it before the episode, so that's why I did that. That was so I could figure out.
Oh, perfect. That's
so I could figure out exactly how I have it in recording. So that brings us to the end of today's episode. We want to thank you all for listening. Make sure you keep up to date with all the great things we're doing at VM by checking us out at visibleman.org. You can also check us out on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, please remember to thumbs up and subscribe. Same, I guess, if you're watching on Facebook. If you're listening to this on the podcast, please remember to rate and review and subscribe. That helps other people find the show, helps kind of spread the word without having to do a whole lot yourself. If you like the work that we're doing here at VM with the live talks, with the podcast, and then all the other work that we're doing, go ahead and think about supporting us by going to patreon.com/visibleman. Jeff, is that everything? Oh, Discord server. Join in on the conversation on our Discord server. Anybody who is over 18 is invited. It's a place where we have moderated discussions daily about men and men's mental health. I think that's everything.
Yeah, I think you covered it.
Cool. All right, anyway, thanks everybody for listening. My name's Jack Rollins. And for everybody at VM, please remember that vulnerability is the ultimate demonstration of strength. Cheers.